Hey everybody, I'm Glenn with the Pet Food Puzzle Guy, and thanks for joining in. And today we're going to talk about one of the most common health issues among dogs and cats in America, and probably in all civilized countries. Basically, obesity. We're really going to look at what's the causes of it, why is it so hard to prevent, why is it so hard to manage, and I will show you how management for veterinarians managing obesity, how it has changed in the last decade or so, and where we are today. And at least good news, if you stick with me, there are diets now that are much more effective than ever before. We've learned so much about canine and feline obesity, and so that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and get started. Obesity really is an epidemic in America. We just love our dogs and cats too much, and we show that love by feeding them. And I think the percentage of dog owners that treat their dogs, it's like 90-something%. So again, we just love showing our love by treating them or feeding them. And of course, some dogs, they just are pros at giving us those sad eyes, and we just can't help. And we just don't think about how many calories we might be giving through, just an extra scoop of food or a few extra treats or some people food, because I know they love, hot dogs or whatever it is. So it's kind of frustrating because it's one of the most preventable diseases, and yet it really is an epidemic that just affects so many pets and their health and their longevity. So it's really worth taking a look at. So sometimes you'll hear overweight, that a pet is overweight. Other times you'll hear obese. And those have two, I don't know if it's legal, but they have official terms. Overweight means that the animal is 10% over their ideal weight. So a good example, if you had a 20-pound dog, or their ideal weight was 20 pounds. If they're 2 pounds over at 22 pounds, they're overweight. They're 10% over their ideal body weight. Obese is when they're more than 20%. 20% or higher. Now we're looking at obese. In obesity, you don't hear that term too much anymore, especially with pets, but basically now it's a health issue. Now the health risks that you can think of, and I'll put it up here, I'll type up just some of the diseases, but all these diseases here, they're all increased the risk by 5 to 10 times higher. All these different terrible diseases that are heartbreaking and expensive, and the one up there that's the worst is their lifespan is shortened. Purina did an excellent study. It's pretty old now. It's been years, but you can look it up, I'm sure, but most vets have heard of it or seen the results. But basically they had two groups of dogs, and kept one group lean and the other they let go into the obese level. And on average, those dogs that were obese, their lifespan was shortened 2 years from those that were kept at a healthy weight. Or the other more positive way to look at that is the dogs that were kept lean, they lived an average 2 years longer. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, if my veterinarian said, hey, Glenn, we have this magic pill, and if you give it to Zuzu or Bella or, any of the past dogs we've had, they'll live 2 years longer. Holy cow, what would we pay for that pill? And yet we can do that ourselves and actually do it for free and save money by not overfeeding our pets and keeping them at a lean weight. So it's so important. And I will tell you, definitely prevention is much easier than management. Prevention is real simple, and we all know about calories. Most of us as adults have battled with calories in one way or the other. But if we have too many calories going in and not enough going out or being burned up, we get overweight. So it's pretty simple as far as prevention. Feed a food that is not a high fat. When you look at the bags don't tell you much. You know that from watching my videos, but the fat percentage on the bag, the dietary fat is the main energy source. So if you see a high fat number, 20%, 25% fat, the calorie count in that diet's going to be pretty high. And I think now AFCO actually makes food companies put the kcals per cup on the bag. So you can look and find that and see, some comparisons. But that's pretty simple. If your dog has gone from puppyhood and is still a nice healthy weight, now we're into adulthood, and they're kind of a couch potato, well, go with a lower fat diet. Don't go with a high energy 20-25% fat number. Now you're just looking at trouble. Now you're going to have to really limit how much you feed. They're going to be hungry, blah, blah, blah. So you really want to think about when you hit that adult stage, your biggest priority really is a diet that is suited to his activity level, that's going to meet his activity level, but not give him a bunch of extra calories. Management is a whole different story. It's a lot harder, and I will tell you, I've been doing this veterinary nutrition for over 30 years, and it is tough to get body weight off an animal after they've become obese. That's tough. Talk to any veterinarian, they'll tell you how hard it is. So first of all, let's look at the conventional way. I hate using the term conventional, but it really fits. There's three main food companies that have dealt with obesity and obesity management diets, and that's Hills, Royal Canin, and Purina. And each of them have a diet that is designed to help your pet reduce weight. And let's just stick with dogs just to keep this a little simpler, but it's true with cats as well. A little bit different because cats are carnivores, and we'll have to touch on that, I guess. But for right now, let's just kind of keep it with dogs and in general. So both these companies, all three of them. Here's Hills RD, reducing diet, and the names. These food companies change the names all the time. So for a long this time, it was RD, reducing diet, and Purina has OM. That was what it was called in vet clinics all the time. Again, they changed the names a little bit. And then Royal Canin had a diet called satiety. And they had a few other variations of satiety as well. But I'm just going to stick with those three because the key thing to get across is basically they all had the same premise. They all were working with the same idea. And that is pretty basic, real simple. We're going to reduce the fat and calories in the food. Okay, that's a no-brainer. And we're going to increase the fiber, the non-digestible fiber. What is that going to do? Well, the whole concept was you add fiber, kind of like eating a salad. You're not getting a lot of calories, but you get filled up. Same thing is true with high fiber foods. The idea was that the fiber would distend the stomach walls. That shoots a hormone to the brain, tells the pet that they're full. So they're satisfied, but they got a lot less calories because they reduced fat, and they're satisfied because of the fiber. Now, that was pretty basic to understand. All three companies could show you clinical studies of how, with their colony dogs or their colony cats, that they fed this diet and they got weight loss and they got all these wonderful numbers and all. And I remember having a nutritionist lecture on a diet that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And she said, all these numbers, who cares? None of this really matters if it doesn't work with Mrs. Jones and her overweight dog or cat in their home. If we can control the whole environment, sure, we could almost make any diet work for weight loss. But when you look at client-owned pets and the real world that we all live in, I will tell you, after all the years of doing it, and I think some of these numbers aren't just anecdotal, but the failure rate among obesity diets that veterinarians were using for pets, the failure rate was probably 90%. I mean, maybe 1 in 10 pets actually lost weight and got down to their ideal weight. They usually would stop gaining weight. That was nice, but they really didn't lose it. Now, of course, if you talk to veterinarians, I don't want to be spoiler alert here, but they would blame the clients that, the client overfed. We know for a lot of pet owners that is true. I mean, you're supposed to, the vet tells you to feed 1 cup. And you feed that 1 cup and it looks like such a small amount of food, so you add a little more or whatever, or you add some extra milk bone or whatever it is. It's just really hard. And I know, Zuzu is my one just sweetheart of a dog, and she just gains weight kind of looking at food and loves food, so I'm kind of guilty of always giving her too much and having to put her on a diet now and then. Bella just never gains. She's lucky that way. But anyway, so the whole premise sounded great. They had clinical studies to prove it, but yet in the real world, the failure rate was pretty low. As a matter of fact, if those companies had such a failure rate with urinary stones and kidney disease and arthritis and allergies, I'm sure they would have gone out of business. Veterinarians would have said, forget it, I'm not going to use these diets. But those other disease categories we've had wonderful success in. But when it came to obesity management, it was pretty dismal. I mean, I really didn't like doing weight seminars or weight management seminars in clinics because I knew the chance of success was so low. Why didn't these diets work? Again, we want to blame the client, they fed too much, okay? But the one thing that science didn't know, and Hills has really led the way in this, and I was aware of the studies going on and the new concept that came from it. But basically what they didn't understand, these nutritionists, was metabolism. And once you understand metabolism, the whole game changes. So just to show you how different the game changed, here's those three diets again. Premise is the same: low calories, low fat, high fiber, high non-digestible fiber. So what were the results? Well, basically the results with all three of these diets, at least that I saw in clinics, that my veterinarians saw, was that there was very little weight loss, if any. Maybe the weight gain slowed down, but not a whole lot of weight loss. There was a lot of poop because all that fiber that's going in is coming back out. Again, the high fiber is non-digestible. It's there to fill their stomach, to make them feel full. The other is that the pets, or the clients, of course, would tell the veterinarians, my dog's always hungry. My cat is always meowing. The dog's always begging. They're always hungry. And of course, we really believing, then we said this sincerely, I know I did, no, the research shows that high fiber is distending their stomach, shooting this hormone to their brain. They're feeling full. You're not understanding. You're just feeling guilty because it's a reducing diet, okay? It's a low calorie diet, but they're full, trust us, okay? And of course, the worst for a veterinarian is unhappy clients. The pet parent was not very happy because the doctor, talked about all these health risks that we have to deal with, and this is why we're going to put him on this special diet, and it's not inexpensive, this diet, and I'm cleaning up a lot more poop in the litter box or in the backyard. He's hungry all the time. This is terrible, and look, he's not losing any weight. So there actually were veterinarians for a period of time in the 90s and into the 2000s, I guess, where they would tell me, Glenn, I don't even bring up obesity anymore. I don't bring up obesity management because nothing works. And then I just end up blaming the client because they're feeding too much, and it just gets really bad. Now, not every veterinarian did that, but to me, that's almost malpractice because, as we saw with all those health risks, obesity really is a true disease or condition that leads to all these diseases. So it really has to be approached. So I want to put this out there that if you've been to a vet clinic and you've been offended, or you're tired of your veterinarian harping on you because your beloved pet is overweight or fat or whatever he or she is calling her, well, good for them, and you're being blessed by a good veterinarian, because they should be in your face, because just like my vet should be in my face with Zuzu when she starts getting heavier. It's just wrong for us to do that. It's preventable. It keeps them alive longer. It keeps them healthier. It's what we want. We just need some help getting there. So if your vet is harping on you about that stuff, just appreciate it. Don't take it as, they're not shaming you. They're not trying to ridicule you or blame you, but they just care about your pet. So that's actually a really great vet that's stepping up and making an issue of that. So what science finally showed the nutritionists were that we were not looking at metabolism. We didn't understand metabolism. We were just looking at calories going in, calories going out. What about the pet's metabolism? And all of us know people that are just naturally thin. They eat like a horse, don't really exercise much, and they stay thin. And then other folks, they just look at food and they gain weight. Okay, it's all metabolism, and it's a very individual thing. So when you looked at these diets that Hills, Purina, and Royal Canin were using, and these diets still exist today, they're still out there, but why were they not working? Well, because we didn't understand metabolism. it's not just a matter of calories going in. If the body is designed or feels it's designed, feeling would not be the right word. If the body is functioning in a way where it wants to store fat instead of burn fat, that's unhealthy metabolism. Okay? And again, if you have healthy metabolism, your body's taking in lots of calories, but it's burning them up. So that's healthy metabolism. So you put a dog on one of these diets that's high in fiber and low in calories, but their body is really just in this design mode of storing calories and fat and not burning them, well, you're not really going to get much success. And then, of course, the failure rate when, oh, the heck with it, I'll give them some more calories, and there we go. And, you know, it's been proven even with people that when you have a body like that that wants to store and maintain the calories and the fat, and then you reduce the calories and fat, what happens? Now that body really hunkers down and wants to hold on to those. It goes into that, you know, starvation mode. So everything was working against us for years when we were trying to use these diets. So at Hills, I was at Hills when the diet came out, and it's called Metabolic. And just like the name says, it's all about metabolism. What this diet does, in the simplest way to explain it, I'm not here really to sell Hills, but I am here to tell you, in my experience, I went from seeing a pretty much a 90% failure rate to probably a, I don't know, 70-80% success rate with this new approach. And basically what Metabolic did when it was introduced, one, it was studied on client-owned pets. Once the diet came out, though, to see the results that my doctors were seeing in their clinics, that was really exciting. Basically, what the diet does, it's very simple, and I'm sure there's lots of science and chemistry behind it that I don't really want to need to get into. Results are what we're looking for here. But basically, the diet activates their metabolism. And the great way to illustrate this is think about the animal's genes. They have genes that store fat. They have genes that burn fat. Of course, genes are designed to do all those specific things in the body. We can't change what a gene does. God's kind of set that where they're going to do what they're designed to do. But we can change the expression. And what we found in when I was still with Hills, the nutritionist, not me, they found that dogs that were obese, their genetic expression was pretty interesting. Their fat storing genes were upregulated. In other words, think of a lever. They were upregulated, storing fat really great. Their fat burning genes, though, they were there, but they were downregulated. And that basically, that picture there is unhealthy metabolism, okay? What this diet basically does is activate that metabolism, and what it does is just picture, we're gonna lower the expression on the fat storing genes. We don't want them being upregulated. We wanna downregulate those, and we wanna take the fat burning genes and upregulate those, okay? That is activating the metabolism. It's totally natural. We're not using any kind of weird chemicals or anything like that. It's just allowing the body to function the way God intended, that it's supposed to take energy in, burn it up, and stay lean. That's what this diet does. The other thing it does, and it's pretty cool, and again, I don't really understand how it does it, but I saw it happen with real dogs and cats, is their satiety. Remember I said that, even Royal Canin calling their one diet satiety. Well, science kind of proved the high fiber really was not satisfying these pets because that fiber, or I'm sorry, the hormone link was being turned off. Once their metabolism got unhealthy enough, once those genes changed enough with their obesity, that hormone trigger stopped. And that's why all these clients over the years, and I feel terrible now that were telling me their dogs were begging and their cats were meowing, and we were saying, oh, it's all in your head, there's no way. Now we know they were absolutely right, that their pets were feeling they were being starved because that hormone had been turned off. Once their metabolism starts changing and activating, getting healthy again, guess what? That trigger comes back. And I even saw before weight loss, some animals, their hunger trigger subsided, and they actually were leaving food in a bowl. I remember one lady calling the vet to complain, or not to complain, but say, he's actually leaving food in the bowl. What's going on here? that's because now I think Dr. Bowman said, you realize it's been 5 years I've been managing your dog's health. This is the first time he has actually felt satisfied. And that's healthy metabolism. You should feel satisfied after a meal, not still hungry. So basically, metabolic, what it does is it just activates that metabolism. It normalizes the metabolism, if you want to call it. The satiety trigger starts working again, and bottom line, they start losing weight. And that's what's so cool about this diet. And I have to say, again, I try not to promote specific diets on this channel, but this is just so important. And I'm not even showing, I could show tons of pictures of fat dogs and cats, and we can all get a good laugh and all, but it's tragic. It really is. So I'm not going to do that because it's too serious. We all love our pets too much. That's why this topic's so important. So the reason I'm mentioning these few diets is because I've just seen them work so well. So Hill's prescription diet, Metabolic, is the veterinary version that the vets would use, and veterinarians that have done it have seen what a difference, going from the conventional high fiber, low fat diet that really didn't do very much to let's activate their metabolism, let's get them to start burning calories instead of storing them. And think about it. You've got a, 80-pound dog that's got 20 pounds of body fat that he needs to get rid of. How many calories are you going to cut per day that's going to satisfy his needs, satisfy his hunger, all his nutrition, and yet burn up 20 pounds of body fat? He's not going to live long enough to do that, okay? It's going to be a miserable journey, okay? Why not feed a food where you can feed a normal amount of food? This is not a high fiber, low calorie food. I mean, it's not a high calorie food, but the idea of this diet is let's feed them a normal amount of food, but we want to just activate their metabolisms to not only burn the calories coming in, but to start burning the extra body fat that they're carrying. That's the difference between a metabolic approach and a calorie approach. The other thing Hills did, they took much of the research that went into metabolic and they made a science diet product called Perfect Weight. And I remember there was a a store in Pueblo, and I met the manager one day, and he said, holy cow, that Perfect Weight. He says, I'm just shocked that, I've been selling pet food for years, but I've never had anything where people came in and said, wow, my dog is finally losing weight on this diet. And it's the same technology that's in the metabolic, maybe not as researched, whatever, but all I can tell you from what I've seen is that it works just as well. And of course, it's over the counter. If your dog is really obese, it really is a great idea to talk with your veterinarian about managing the weight loss, because weight loss, it's crucial. We want it to happen, but it needs to happen at a nice, healthy, slow rate. We don't want to go into some drastic, end up with, fatty liver disease or stuff like that. So we definitely want to make sure, that if your dog or cat is really, really hefty, okay, really big boned, whatever you want to call it, maybe have a visit with the vet first, decide on what diet, your protocol, and then measure that weight as it's going. But the Perfect Weight Metabolic, I'll put it up here. It's really amazing how well they work. And again, it's all by changing gene expression, if you want to call it that, or you can call it's all by activating their metabolism. But it's a very unique approach, and I'm just throwing it out there with this video that if you're one of those folks that you've tried everything, nothing's worked, if you've had failure with those other diets and you thought nothing's going to work, my vet, every time I see him, he just complains that, the dog is still overweight, but we've tried everything. Try this metabolic approach. So I know the time we have with our pets is precious, hopefully the years that we have with them, and if we can make that go a little longer just by keeping them at a healthy weight, man, that's something we really should do. And just making this video reminds me I need to maybe shed a few more pounds off Zuzu. But I hope it's inspired you that if you struggled with that with your pet, please check out Metabolic, check out Perfect Weight, try something, talk to your vet, but don't give up. It's really important. We want our our fur babies, as many of you call them. We want them with us as long as possible. Means a lot to us. So hope that was helpful. Hope it inspires you to not give up on that weight issue, and we will catch you next time.